Hello everyone, it's your big bold bad boy Jules here with his son Ewan on the Comics Channel, and that's right, it's time for another episode of
Panel Pals. Ooh, tasty.
That's right, it's another episode of Panel Pals, the show in which we go to our main men at Travelling Man in Newcastle, take a selection of their comic books, it's going to be from different story arcs each time, give them a review and let you know what we thought about them. Basically, it's a comics that you should read this week, and yeah, give us some support because it's a brand new show format and we need your feedback. Hence why we've kind of changed the background.
Yeah,
we're now we're in a time capsule now.
Yeah, we're lost in time.
We're lost in time.
It's a nice capsule though. I mean,
it's quite roomy actually.
Yeah, I wonder how much rent goes for it.
It's a nice little hole for little Peter there as well.
No, that's cool. Yeah, he needs a little bit of space.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
A little bit is like a lot to him. Anyway, Let's get back on it. So the ones that we're going to be reviewing this week are Dark Knight, Batman, The Dawnbreaker.
That's very dramatic. I feel very ominous right now.
Well, shall I do them all in that sort of like tone?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. We're also going to be looking at the war. What's it called again? The
War of Jokes and Riddles.
War of Jokes and Riddles, and this is the conclusion to this. Mm-hmm. So, big spicy stuff happening there.
Yep.
No big longy.
No big longy today.
We only got shorties today. We've got the Green Arrow, which is the Dark Batman
Dark Knight metal tie-in.
Oh God, sorry, my brain is not working. The Dark Knight metal tie-in, and then we've got the Spirits of Vengeance, which ties into the Marvel Infinity Legacy.
That's the one. It's part of Legacy. Yeah.
And then the
big
Punisher
one of the week. Yeah.
But this one is a bit of a divisive one.
Yeah, no, I feel like we've got a bit of a divide on quite a few of these this week. So
what we're going to do is we're going to very quickly run through the scores that we gave them and then go through and explain why we gave them that score. So Ewan, what would you give this out of 5?
I'd give it a solid 4. Solid 4.
For me, I enjoy this series thoroughly so far and all the tie-ins, so I'm going to give this a 4 as well.
Yeah.
Now, the conclusion to the War of Riddles and Jokes.
Another 4, I think. I think Tom King's series has been doing. I really, really enjoyed the payoff. Again, we spoke about this in the news video yesterday. Spoiler, but you'll know that kind of Catwoman replies to Batman saying, "Yes, I would like to marry you." And yeah, I'm game for that. I think that's really cool.
I was enamored with the revelation that she's going to say yes, but I wasn't too keen on how the actual final scene broke down between the Joker and the Riddler. But then again, I'm a pedant. I just love uber violence and action, so that's on me.
That's why you like Dark Knight's metal so much.
That's very true. I mean, yeah. Speaking of which, here's the Green Arrow tie into that. You really like this, didn't you?
I really want to give it. Giving it a 5 to me implies it's perfect. So I'd probably give it a 4 again.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, that's my favourite tie-in so far. I really liked it.
I think that I would have to agree with you and give this a 4 as well. There is a few things that keep it from being the perfect story, but very enjoyable nonetheless, and also some quite big revelations to the actual main story found within this one. And Spirits of Vengeance, now bit divided on this one, aren't we? Because I like the art style, I thought it was very cool.
Cartoony. Yeah. I'm just a little bit let down. I thought a team involving this many people, obviously the team haven't come together yet, but the premise felt very cliched and very early 2000s superhero fare.
I mean, we'll go into a bit more detail on that one, but I reckon maybe a 3 out of 5 for that one.
Solid,
yeah, I think that's fair. And finally, The Punisher.
Yeah, big.
He's a big boob.
Big return of Garth Ennis to the series that he kind of really revitalized in the early 2000s. He's come back with Parlov to do a prequel to Bourne, which is like the big Punisher origin story. Totally like reimagined the character and made sure everyone kind of had to reevaluate his origins. And he's come back with a prequel, and I really, really loved it.
I have to echo as well. There was moments of this that I thought were very, very interesting for character development, and I think it's going to be a very interesting series, this. I expect great things from this. So what would you give it out of 5 then?
Another 4. I think it's not perfect, but it's a very, very strong introduction. And if you love Ennis's stuff, but we'll get into it.
Yeah. So basically, those are our brief reviews of that. So now we're going to go into a bit more detail with each one. So which one would you like to start with, my boy?
Can I start with Punisher first?
Let's go for
Frank.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, so as I said, Garth Ennis, really big Punisher boy. Like he did Punisher Max in the early 2000s. That was his big thing. And again, the main storyline that he did from that was Bourne. That came out in 2006 or 7, I think. And that was all about Frank Castle's army days. If you didn't know, he was a Vietnam veteran. And it basically kind of planted this little seed of doubt in people's minds that maybe the genesis of his like kind of violent tendencies didn't begin with the murder of his family,
maybe
but rather crystallized in like the conflict of Vietnam. And it's really interesting. And Ennis goes one step further with this. and
Goes even further back
yeah,
in time,
goes even
doesn't it?
further back. So it starts off like meeting all of Frank's old unit. They're talking about their old army days. And it goes into the whole. You don't want to see the M&Ms out there.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by them.
No, but yeah, like it just goes into all that kind of detail about his first tour of duty.
Yeah.
And it has some really interesting stuff in it. If you like Oliver Stone's kind of war films, it is called The Platoon, so you can kind of see
it's very similar to that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I really, really enjoyed it.
In terms of art direction as well, I think that
Oh.
it's very much like Platoon because it focuses a lot more on sort of sweeping landscapes, on very sort of interpersonal relationships between the units. And you know what? The art style is really, really impressive because it shows a lot of weathered looks in the faces. These are men that have obviously been through quite a bit of hell already. So it's
that's an advert for spiritual. But you can see here, like he gets a really good sense of when kind of like
it's almost cinematic in the way that he does it.
It's very cinematic in the way he does it. You'd expect like the Doors or like
to just start like playing over the top of it.
And,
I mean, in terms of what actually happens, it's one of those things where not a lot necessarily happens, but the setup for it and the implications is quite interesting.
Really strong.
Because what it turns out is that there's a reporter who's actually talking to all of his unit mates and is asking them about the very first tour of duty that they shared together with him in Vietnam. Now, as the reporter then relays what he already knows, you get to see moments of Castle basically going... The way that we described it to each other was, he's not a cold man, but he's definitely got a ruthless edge to him, and that was definitely there before the murder of his wife.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think one of the most interesting things about it is that if I'm a bit of a history nerd, and this is my kind of period that I really specialised in at university, and one of the things that I find really interesting about it is that Ennis nails the terminology behind it. They talk about officers being fragged, which is when units would basically like kill their own lieutenants if they didn't like him, and my boy Frank, he comes into Vietnam, doesn't have his officer strike, doesn't salute anyone. It's very clear that he's done his research before he gets to the conflict, and that itself has so many implications because it's less a case of, I think in the beginning they talk about young boys going to Vietnam and then coming back to a different country and this whole idea of losing your innocence. Even then, Ennis goes further and implies that his innocence was lost before he actually got to Vietnam. Like, he's there doing all the research. Like, he knows what's going on.
Well, I think one of the most interesting points is he reaches a settlement and without even thinking, he just goes, right, okay, we're going to call in these bombers, we're going to blitz this entire area. And the response he gives is, he just goes, I'd rather not even risk it. Why would I risk the lives of my men versus killing possibly innocent civilians? He just he doesn't even care. And that lack of, that detachment is clearly what the Punisher is about. The line between right and wrong and where you see yourself on that dynamic, and he sees himself as righteous already.
Exactly, and it's because he gets vindicated by it, obviously. Like there was a member of the NVA there, but again, it's just it feels in some respects it does feel quite derivative of 80s war films that kind of came out about Vietnam, but at the same time, if you like The Punisher and you really like what Ennis did with that character in the early 2000s, this series is a must-read.
I feel like it's going to go down the route of being of constantly playing expectations of the soldiers that kind of rode in on the waves of fire and all of the napalm stuff versus the gritty reality of this was some dark times for the nation pretty much. A very interesting story, and I'm really glad I read it. Actually, I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. Well, why don't we pick up on what we consider to be actually the weakest one, The Spirits of Vengeance. Now, if you were going to criticise this, it's not going to be on how this looks.
No, it looks brilliant.
The style of this is phenomenal.
It looks like a cartoon. It looks really cartoony.
Yeah, with exaggerated features, and people are kind of disgusting looking. No one's got the body proportions are really out. But look at that lovely shot of the Ghost Rider. That's
Johnny.
Good old Johnny.
Doing his thing.
Yeah, we were talking about the differences between the Ghost Riders before we started filming actually. But it introduces this team, the Spirits of Vengeance. Now this is comprised of the Ghost Rider, of Hellstrom, Satana, and Blade. My boy Blade.
We've not seen it in the comics for so long, so I'm really happy that he's back.
Now, I think that's possibly why you're a little bit disappointed, isn't it? Because you think that this is going to be a very stock story, effectively.
The thing with this story is that I'm not familiar with this writer's work before. I've never really come across it, but I thought the premise of having Ghost Rider team up with Blade to do their own kind of supernatural thing, because we don't really see the supernatural elements of Marvel get explored that much. DC is very much the king when it comes to that. They've got Constantine, they've got Deadman. And yeah, like this felt very derivative. It felt like I was watching a really bad mirror image of not to knock the original Blade series or anything, but it did feel kind of like, it had all the checklists ticked off. Like you've got the evil sorcerer, he's planning stuff. You've got the suave but deeply troubled, like I don't know if he's British or not, but like he's just
feels like he could be.
He feels like an ersatz John Constantine. I'm gonna be honest, don't like him. And then the fact that it's Johnny and not Robbie. Like I like Johnny, but I prefer Dan Ketch anyway, and they're using the Dan Ketch design for Johnny's Ghost Rider. It's like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it's very strange how they've done this, but I do agree with you in that it feels like this is going to be basically like a stock action movie told in comic form, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that, like you say, when Blade has been away from the universe for this long, you want to see him come back with something with a bit more bite, excuse the pun.
And you did it.
I know, I went there. But it's just like one of those things where like you can't fault it for the way that it looks, but it just feels like and it's always a struggle judging a first issue.
Exactly.
Because you know that it's just set up. It's always just going to be that. But this felt quite rushed, and at the same time it just seems like it's going to be a Blade vehicle, really, doesn't it?
And it's annoying to me as well because I love supernatural comic books. I love Ghost Rider. I love Blade, and I feel like the Hellstrom guy, I don't think he's a strong character at all. I'd much rather they just did, if they're going to do a team up, just put it in Marvel 2-in-1 and just have Ghost Rider and Blade doing stuff together.
It feels like he's literally there just to be the straight guy, doesn't he?
He's meant to be the Nick Fury.
He's the exposition thing. It's just kind of like, oh look, I know a person. Let's just go here. I know this.
The big ending thing is like, we've got to stop the end of existence as we know it. It's like
that seemed very forced, didn't it?
It's like and I'm hoping that the zaniness of the series kind of pulls it through and that it does improve, because I think the premise and the title of the book, like Spirits of Vengeance, that sounds really cool. I just hope that they actually do something with these characters.
I'm hoping that once the group is together, we'll see a little more of the dynamic fleshed out rather than being stock type characters at the moment. But that's to be seen. So let's move on to the Green Arrow, which is the Dark Knight Metal tie-in, and this is clearly your comic of the week, isn't it?
I feel like it is, because I love Oliver Queen, and I've loved Benjamin Percy's run of the characters so far. So.
And if you're going to basically judge all of these books on which is the most aesthetically pleasing, then hands down, this is the best. Like the layout of some of the spreads is insane. Like the amount of detail and effort that's gone into the facial features and stuff is just lovely, and the constant mix of colours throughout.
It does it so well.
It basically, because it's set in the Mad Hatter's sort of version of Gotham, you kind of expect things to be a bit crazy and over the top anyway, but this just fits it perfectly.
It does.
I mean, the whole series of the Dark Knight Metal is meant to be over the top in every sense.
But no, I just really enjoyed it, because you'd think with it being a Green Arrow book, being a tie into a Batman book, he'd perhaps like take a back seat to things.
Like a minor role
but
in it.
I'm going to say it now, the team that I saw in this book, more appealing than the team I saw in Spirits of Vengeance. I thought the team up of Ollie, Dick, Harley and Mr. Terrific was much more interesting. I really like the dynamic they had together.
I really like the character of Mr. Terrific. I'm not actually too familiar with him, actually.
I'll have to get you into Mr. Terrific.
It seems like he's got a very cool set of powers, actually. And it's quite nice because this is the kind of really one of the first main interactions that anyone's had with the Batman Who Laughs. Like, they're actually having a conversation with him, because he's done a lot of exposition off screen.
I love the stuff that they did with the corrupted Robins as well. And Damian fans in particular are going to have an absolute ball with this issue. Percy just gets that dynamic to a T, and one thing that will appeal to Green Arrow fans like myself is how he explores that relationship Ollie has with Batman. Like you find out in this issue that Batman really has appointed Ollie to watch over Damian. And you can sense that father-son dynamic, definitely. Kind of like mine and yours. Like if I shot you with an arrow accidentally, I'd be pretty pissed.
I'd be pretty upset about it. However,
have a plan, and it would be a thing.
So that is the big revelation of this storyline. That basically, thanks to shenanigans, let's just call it, they now know how to kill these extra-dimensional beings that are from the outside of the parallel multiverse, whatever.
The dark multiverse.
The dark multiverse. It's very confusing to sort of newcomers to this, but it's very, very entertaining.
I love how balls-to-the-wall insane this series is, and it's just so... It is like, we tend to use the term passion project a bit too much, but this universe that Scott Snyder's created with the whole the metal vibe and all of this, it works so well.
I tell you what, doesn't this feel like this is what the Suicide Squad film should have been? Like the group is much better. They've got such a crazy mission to go on. It's over the top.
Croc's character is more than just him wanting BET and
I BET now.
So
very good. Totally would recommend this one. Now we move on to what I would say is I can't get behind this conclusion. Now a load of people out there are going to call me a pedant because yes, it's true. I'm not fully caught up on the main series itself. So will the ending be spoiled for me? Yes, that is correct. But I'm just judging this on art style and the story that was told within these pages. And I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of this art style. I find this kind of a bit too...
Is it too clean?
Yeah, it is a bit. That kind of bothers me a little bit.
No, I really like Tom King's Batman, so I can't say a bad word about that
Okay.
issue.
I mean, you thought that it was a good conclusion to the story, did
Yeah.
you? Okay, fine. I mean, maybe my judgment should be reserved on that one. But what would you say about that to people who've been following the series from the very beginning?
Yeah, it's just I feel like Tom King really has. We've been as Batman fans, we've been spoiled for choice these past few years. Like we had Grant Morrison doing his thing for ages, and then followed that up by Scott Snyder, who is basically the Bat guy.
Yeah.
And now Tom King, who is ex-CIA, by the way. How
Really?
cool was that? He's been doing. I've really enjoyed his stuff with DC Rebirth, and
Cool.
the War of Jokes and Riddles I thought was a really, really clever arc, and looking forward to where he goes with the series next, because he's also doing Mr. Miracle, which is the best comic of the year so far.
Okay, cool. I look forward to
Should
that.
be getting that in next month, hopefully.
Excellent. So what do you think about the revelation about Catwoman saying yes?
Yeah.
What do you think that this is going to go forward?
I feel like it's genuine. I don't see this being like a 180 that they're going to do, because...
No, I mean, they've already kind of invested quite heavily into the story.
And yeah, it kind of fits into me with this idea that Tom King making Batman have a life and having basically being able to get the duality of Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like, it's not just all, I'm Batman, I'm dark and broody, I can't... And it's getting away from those same beats we see over and over again, this whole idea of Batman has to be a loner, pushes allies away, and it's genuine. I really like it.
I have to admit, out of all of them, the comics that we've reviewed this week, this one had the best dialogue exchange between Selina and Batman, actually. I like the way that they kind of said to them, I am a product of my sins, but that isn't who I am. Like, you can't, just because I trod this path to get here doesn't mean that we can't be happy together. And I was like, that's a really nice sentiment for life, you know?
It's lovely because, again, going back to the news video we did yesterday where I talked about Paul Dini's stuff on Heart of Hush, there's a really, really nice panel in that book where Selina's in hospital, she's waking out of a coma, and Bruce is there confessing his love to her, and he thinks she's asleep, and then he kisses her on the forehead, and then she's just like, I love you too. And it's like, I'm a big fan of soppy, mushy Batman.
And to be fair, that was achieved very well here. So that was you really like this one. I need to just clearly catch up on it to get more of the impact. And finally, this is definitely my comic of the week, because I cannot express how goddamn cool I think this series is.
It's another shiny cover as well.
It's another shiny cover, and it just looks great. I mean, just judging on the art style, it's beautiful. They clearly are putting so much love into these tie-in things, and I wouldn't expect that, because when you see it's a tie-in, you just think, oh, okay, cool, it's going to be throwaway stories. But so much stuff happens in this one.
It's the really nice thing that I've gotten from Dark Knight's Metal so far. Is that, of course, you can just read the series itself, like the main storyline, and get loads of stuff from it. But if you're really keen on investing in that universe more, these tie-ins are genuine. They're not they don't distract.
They're not fluff.
They're not fluff. And there was every chance, going back to that Green Arrow one, that could have been a distraction from another arc, and it would have felt wasted. It would have felt like it was upsetting the pace a little bit, but it felt genuine. And the same goes for that. It's really interesting how they're going into each of these dark Batmen and exploring
giving them
all
a backstory. And that kind of makes you understand where they come from, which makes them weirdly sympathetic villains.
Yes.
They clearly have given up all sort of hope of remorse and being seen favourably by the public. I mean, especially when you collapse worlds, for example, like this guy's doing. But it's just giving them that backstory makes you hate them and feel sorry for them at the same time, and it's just beautiful storytelling.
That's the really genius thing about the series, is that all these different Batmen could have been Batman.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore it puts weight on what's going to actually happen to the Batman and the group when they actually finally get their big plan going. But it's cool because you get to see more of the Batman who laughs, and seeing how he kind of is manipulating everything like that. It's
He's such an interesting. His image is absolutely terrifying in and of itself, but he's so sinister.
we also have a common thread between these two, and that Dr. Fate appears
Yes.
as well. So that's
I forgot about Dr.
yeah, I know.
Fate.
Yeah.
That was like,
but that's the thing, because it appears
yeah.
again in both of these. That it's like he is such a cool character.
I love Dr. Fate so much. Like when he appeared in that, and I'm just like, oh boy.
Oh boy.
I love Dr. Fate. Yeah.
I have to say, if I was to pick like a favourite panel out of all of these, it would have to be from this one where he's arrived at Hal Jordan's city, and at this point, this Batman, who is a Green Lantern in this way, he's corrupted his ring. He's allowed darkness to do it through sheer force of will, and he basically goes to the brightest point in the multiverse and collapses the entire thing. And I just think, as a statement, it is just so cool, because the Batman who laughs is clearly going to be one of the toughest people that they're going to come up and fight against. But seeing how much power just one of these people holds is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it genuinely makes me think somebody's got to die.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to die.
Well,
hard.
I feel like they've not been pulling any punches with the series so far, and
But it's going to be some serious deaths, I think.
like I don't like if you've read the Death in the Family stuff and other Scott Snyder Batman works, he really does play on those teasers.
Yeah,
where you
man.
think, oh no, someone's going to die.
So how many more groups have we got to go through? 'Cause we've seen two, haven't we? We've seen the Cyborg one, we've seen this one.
And
Green
there
Lantern.
was the Red Death we missed
Death.
earlier on.
Yeah.
So we've got two more Batmen to look at.
And one of them looks huge,
Yeah.
so I'm really interested to see what they do with that.
Lumberjack Batman.
Oh yeah, Lumber Batman. Yeah, so that was our comics of the week, the ones that we pulled from the good boys at Travelling Man
Lovely.
here in Newcastle. Thank you very much, and they gave us some nice pins as
we
well.
did, yeah.
I found the other pins.
Oh,
we
did you?
we lost them and then
yeah.
found them again.
Good.
Top drawer. So yeah, that's been what we read this week. Let us know what you thought of our reviews and whether you agree or disagree. We encourage healthy conversation in the comment section below. As always, like, share and subscribe for more content like this. I promise we'll put out a list at some point on the Comics channel. Being a bit dry lately.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, bosses. Come on, we need to have a few more of them. And as always, I've been at RetroJ on Twitter.
I've been at Abuse Depository on. Oh, please don't send me abuse on Twitter, please. Oh God, no.
AKA Jules and Ewan, father and son. You have, as always, been awesome, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.